Hello fellow boomers and welcome back to our channel. Do you remember those days in the 1950s, 60s and 70s when we sat in straight rows of wooden desks, hands folded, listening to our teachers write math problems on the chalkboard? I can still hear the scratch of chalk against the blackboard, the smell of mimeograph paper fresh from the machine, and that distinctive sound of the school bell echoing through linoleum hallways. I also remember our teachers telling us that they have eyes on their backs. Remember how we all learned the same lessons at the same pace, whether we were ready or not? Those were simpler times, weren't they? We memorized our multiplication tables by rote, practiced penmanship with those thick pencils that left indentations on our fingers, and if we were lucky, we got to use the overhead projector as the teacher's special helper. We sat quietly in our assigned seats, raised our hands to speak, and moved through subjects like clockwork, math at 9 a.m., English at 10, social studies after lunch. The whole system ran like a well-oiled machine, with all of us moving through grade levels together, learning the same Dick and Jane stories, solving the same arithmetic problems, and taking the same tests. Our teachers, bless their hearts, managed classes of 30 or more students with nothing more than a piece of chalk, a stern voice, and endless patience. But here's something that might surprise you. Education today is undergoing the most dramatic transformation since we were students all those decades ago. And at the heart of this revolution is something called artificial intelligence, or AI. Now I'm going to reveal something that will absolutely shock you about what's happening in classrooms right now, and how this revolutionary change could mean your grandchildren will have educational advantages we never even dreamed possible. But you need to watch this entire video to understand the full picture. And when you see what I'm about to show you, please share this with other grandparents who need to know this, hit that subscribe button, and tell me in the comments how this compares to our school days back then. You see, the educational system we experienced, and that largely still exists in many places today, was designed for a completely different world. Back in our day, the world needed workers who could follow instructions, show up on time, and perform repetitive tasks reliably. The factory model of education served that industrial economy perfectly. Students moved through grade levels like products on an assembly line, all learning the same things at the same time in the same way. Think about it. We had reading groups like the Bluebirds and Cardinals, but everyone in third grade was expected to master multiplication tables by Christmas, whether they were ready or not. If you were struggling with long division when the class moved on to fractions, too bad. You either kept up or fell behind, and falling behind often meant being labeled as slow, or placed in remedial classes that carried a stigma for years. The rigid schedules we remember were designed around efficiency, not learning. 45 minutes of math, then everyone stops and switches to English, regardless of whether you were just beginning to understand that algebra concept or were completely lost 3 lessons ago. Do you recall how frustrating it was when the bell rang just as something was finally clicking for you? Or worse, when you were completely confused but the teacher had to move on because the curriculum demanded it? But today's world demands something entirely different from our grandchildren. They need to think critically, solve complex problems that don't have clear-cut answers, work collaboratively across cultures and time zones, and adapt to jobs that literally didn't exist when we were their age, or even when their parents were students. Data scientists, social media managers, app developers, sustainability coordinators. These careers weren't even imaginable in our school days. Perhaps even more concerning is how many young people today are getting their education from TikTok videos, Instagram posts, and YouTube channels, rather than from structured, verified sources. While we got our information from textbooks that had been carefully reviewed and edited, today's youth are consuming bite-sized pieces of information that may be completely wrong, deliberately misleading, or dangerously biased. A 15-second TikTok video can't possibly convey the complexity of historical events, scientific principles, or social issues, yet millions of young people are forming their worldviews based on these superficial snippets. This creates a generation at risk of having an extremely narrow and distorted understanding of the world. Imagine if we had formed our opinions about World War II based only on comic strips, or learned about democracy from fortune cookies. The current educational system must urgently address this challenge by developing strong critical thinking skills that help students evaluate sources, question what they see online, understand bias and propaganda, and seek out multiple perspectives before forming opinions. AI-enhanced education can play a crucial role here by teaching students how to fact-check information, recognize manipulation techniques, and understand the difference between entertainment and education. Yet many schools are still using the same basic approach we experienced 50 or 60 years ago. Standardized curricula that treat all children as if they learn the same way, rigid schedules that prioritize administrative convenience over student understanding, and teaching methods that still prioritize memorizing facts over developing the ability to think, analyze, and create. The administrative burdens on teachers today make our old teachers' workloads look simple by comparison. Remember Mrs. Henderson, your third-grade teacher who seemed to spend her evenings grading our penmanship worksheets? Today's teachers face mountains of paperwork, standardized test prep, compliance documentation, individualized education plans, behavior incident reports, parent communication logs, and endless data entry. They're drowning in bureaucracy when they should be inspiring young minds. Many teachers today spend more time entering data into computer systems than they do actually connecting with their students. They're required to prove their effectiveness through test scores rather than through the spark of curiosity they ignite in a child's eyes. It's heartbreaking, really, because we all remember that one special teacher who made all the difference in our lives, and they did it without any of this administrative nonsense. This is where artificial intelligence is beginning to change everything, and I mean everything. Now, before you think this is just robots taking over classrooms, let me paint you a different picture. Imagine if every child had their own personal tutor, someone who understood exactly how they learned best, could explain concepts in ways that made perfect sense to them, never got impatient when they needed to practice the same skill multiple times, and was available 24 hours a day. That's essentially what AI tutors can do now. These aren't cold, impersonal machines. They're sophisticated systems that can adapt to each child's learning style, pace, and interests in ways that would have seemed like magic to us back in school. Let me give you a concrete example that will blow your mind. Remember how we all learned to read using the same Dick and Jane books? See Spot Run, Run Spot Run. Every single child in America was reading those same simple sentences, regardless of whether they were fascinated by dinosaurs, dreamed of being astronauts, or loved horses more than anything in the world. Today, an AI system can create personalized reading materials based on each child's specific interests and reading level. If little Johnny is obsessed with dinosaurs, his reading lessons might feature exciting stories about paleontologists discovering new fossils in Montana, complete with vocabulary words like excavation and fossil, that challenge him while keeping him completely engaged. If Sarah is fascinated by space exploration, her math problems might involve calculating the distance between Earth and Mars, or figuring out how much fuel a rocket needs for different missions. The content adapts in real time to capture their imagination while teaching the same fundamental skills we learned, but in ways that make children excited to learn more. Instead of dreading reading time, kids are begging for more stories about their favorite subjects. But here's where it gets even more impressive. These AI systems can tell when a child is struggling before the child even realizes it themselves. They can detect patterns in how a student approaches problems, identify exactly where confusion is starting to develop, and automatically provide additional support or explanation before frustration sets in. While some of us used to sit there, completely lost in math class, too embarrassed to raise our hand for the third time, while the teacher moved on to the next concept, that doesn't have to happen anymore. AI can provide immediate, personalized help the moment a child starts to struggle, ensuring they master each concept before moving forward. And for children who grasp concepts quickly, those kids who always finished their worksheets first and then sat there bored while everyone else caught up, AI can provide advanced challenges and enrichment activities that keep them engaged and growing. No more sitting idle, no more help your neighbor assignments that turn bright kids into unpaid tutors. But AI isn't just revolutionizing the student experience, it's transforming what teachers can do. And this might be the most exciting part of all. Do you commemorate that our teachers seem to spend countless hours after school grading papers and preparing lessons? Well, imagine if AI could handle much of that routine work, freeing teachers to do what they do best: inspire, encourage, and build meaningful relationships with their students. AI can now automatically grade certain types of assignments, not just multiple choice tests, but even essays and creative writing, providing detailed feedback that helps students improve. It can analyze student performance data to identify trends and suggest lesson plans tailored to each class's specific needs. It can even help create customized worksheets and activities based on what each student needs to work on. This means teachers can spend their time doing what drew them to education in the first place, getting to know each child as an individual, understanding their dreams and challenges, providing encouragement when they're struggling, and celebrating their breakthroughs. Instead of being buried in paperwork, teachers can focus on being mentors, coaches, and inspirational guides. Some forward-thinking schools are already implementing these AI-driven approaches with absolutely remarkable results. Let me tell you about one that's leading the way: Primer Micro School. Now, instead of the traditional classroom setup we remember with rows of desks all facing the blackboard, students at Primer work on real-world projects that genuinely interest them and connect to their lives. Picture this: a group of students might spend several weeks researching how to design a community garden for their neighborhood. But this isn't just a simple science project like we might have done. Through this one project, they're learning advanced mathematics by calculating soil volumes, drainage angles, and growing seasons. They're developing sophisticated writing skills by interviewing local gardeners, researching plant varieties, and writing proposals to the city council. They're exploring complex science concepts through understanding soil chemistry, plant biology, and sustainable farming practices. They're learning history by researching agricultural practices throughout different cultures and time periods. AI tools guide their research every step of the way, suggesting relevant resources they might not have found on their own, helping them understand complex concepts when they get stuck, and providing feedback on their work that helps them improve continuously. Instead of memorizing disconnected facts they'll forget after the test, they're learning how to learn, a skill that will serve them throughout their lives. The results speak for themselves, and they're honestly incredible. Students are more engaged than anyone thought possible. They're retaining information at rates that traditional education simply cannot match. Most importantly, they're developing the kind of critical thinking skills, creativity, and problem-solving abilities that will make them successful in whatever future career they choose. At Primer, a student might discover they're passionate about environmental sustainability through that garden project, then dive deep into renewable energy systems, learning physics through solar panel efficiency, economics through cost-benefit analysis, and policy studies through researching environmental regulations. AI helps them access college-level resources when they're ready for them, regardless of their age or grade level. Another student might become fascinated with the historical aspects of agriculture and end up exploring ancient civilizations, learning archaeology techniques, studying anthropology, and even learning ancient languages, all connected through their genuine interest and supported by AI tools that can provide resources and guidance at exactly the right level of complexity. This is personalized learning in action, and it's unlike anything we experienced in our school days. Instead of being limited by age-based grade levels, students progress based on mastery and interest. A mathematically gifted 10-year-old might be working on algebra while still developing their writing skills at a more typical level for their age. This approach recognizes what we intuitively knew even back in our school days. Children develop at different rates in different subjects, and forcing them all into the same mold doesn't serve anyone well. The implications of AI for the future of learning are absolutely profound. We're witnessing a fundamental shift toward truly personalized education paths that would have been impossible with the technology of our era. Traditional education has always adopted that one-size-fits-all approach we remember so well, but AI makes it possible to tailor educational experiences to meet the unique needs, strengths, learning styles, and interests of each individual child. This personalization allows learners to progress at their own optimal pace, ensuring they fully grasp and master concepts before advancing to more complex material. No more being left behind because the class moved too fast, and no more sitting bored because the pace was too slow. Each child can learn at the speed that works best for them. As education evolves with AI, there's an unprecedented emphasis on developing critical thinking and creativity in students. In our day, information was scarce and precious. We memorized facts because looking them up meant a trip to the library and hours of searching through encyclopedias. Today, information is instantly available everywhere, which means the ability to analyze, evaluate, synthesize, and apply knowledge creatively is far more important than simply remembering facts. AI supports this development by providing students with opportunities to engage in complex, real-world problem-solving activities and creative projects that encourage them to think outside conventional boundaries and explore innovative solutions. Instead of asking students to memorize the capitals of all 50 states, AI-enhanced education might challenge them to design a sustainable transportation system connecting major cities, requiring them to learn geography, economics, environmental science, engineering principles, and urban planning all through one engaging project. We're also seeing the growing popularity of micro-schools and alternative education models, which reflects a broader shift in how society views learning and education. These smaller, more flexible educational environments prioritize personalized instruction and hands-on learning experiences, aligning perfectly with what AI technology can now support. Micro-schools often leverage advanced technology to create dynamic, interactive learning experiences that foster collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking in ways that traditional large schools simply cannot accommodate. With class sizes of 15 or fewer students, teachers can truly know each child as an individual, understanding their learning style, interests, challenges, and goals. These schools can adapt their curriculum in real time based on student interests and world events. If there's a major scientific discovery, election, or cultural event happening, they can immediately incorporate it into their lessons, making learning relevant and connected to the real world. This flexibility was impossible in the rigid systems we experienced, where curriculum was set in stone months or even years in advance. For those of us who are grandparents, this educational transformation presents both incredible opportunities and important responsibilities. We have the chance to encourage our adult children to explore these alternative education options for our grandchildren, rather than simply defaulting to the same type of schools we attended. We can also play a crucial role in supporting enhanced learning at home. This doesn't mean we need to become technology experts overnight, but we can introduce our grandchildren to age-appropriate AI learning tools that make education fun, engaging, and effective. There are now applications that can help children learn languages through interactive games, explore science concepts through virtual experiments, and develop math skills through creative problem-solving challenges. Remember how we used to help with homework by drilling multiplication tables or testing spelling words? Today's equivalent might look quite different, but it's just as valuable. We can encourage curiosity by asking open-ended questions that don't have simple right or wrong answers. Instead of "What's the capital of France?" we might ask, "Why do you think Paris became such an important city?" Or, "What would happen if France's capital were somewhere else?" We can engage our grandchildren in creative activities that develop problem-solving skills, building projects, cooking experiments, gardening challenges, or art projects that require planning and adaptation when things don't go as expected. We can have conversations that help children think critically about what they see and hear, teaching them to question assumptions and consider multiple perspectives. When we take our grandchildren to museums instead of just reading the plaques to them, we can encourage them to ask why and how questions, help them make connections between different exhibits, and inspire them to explore topics that capture their imagination. These experiences teach them to be active learners rather than passive recipients of information. The key is fostering that natural sense of wonder and exploration that seems to come so easily to children, but often gets squeezed out by rigid educational systems focused more on compliance than curiosity. When we encourage our grandchildren to pursue their interests deeply, ask questions that don't have easy answers, and explore topics from multiple angles, we're giving them tools that no standardized test can measure, but that will serve them throughout their entire lives. As we look toward the future, it becomes clear that artificial intelligence isn't just changing education, it's helping education become more human, more personal, and more effective than it's ever been before. By handling routine administrative tasks and providing personalized support for each student's learning needs, AI allows teachers to focus on what they do best: inspiring, mentoring, and building meaningful relationships with their students. It enables learning experiences that can adapt to each child's unique needs, interests, and pace, much like the legendary one-room schoolhouse teachers of the past, who knew each student intimately and could provide exactly the right challenge and support for each child. But now, instead of being limited by one teacher's knowledge and time, students have access to the world's information, presented in ways that match their learning style and interests. The children starting school today will graduate into a world where artificial intelligence is as commonplace and essential as computers are now, or as telephones were when we were starting our careers. By embracing these educational innovations now, we're not just preparing them for that future. We're giving them the tools and confidence to shape that future in positive ways. These students won't just be users of technology, they'll be creators, innovators, and problem solvers who can harness AI to address challenges we can't even imagine yet. Climate change, space exploration, medical breakthroughs, social justice, sustainable development. The solutions to tomorrow's biggest challenges will come from minds that were educated in this new AI-enhanced way. So the next time you hear about artificial intelligence in education, don't think of it as cold technology replacing human connection and warmth. Think of it as a return to the personalized, caring approach to learning that the very best teachers have always provided, now enhanced and made available to every single child, regardless of their family's income, their geographic location, or the resources of their local school district. Think of it as giving every child what only the luckiest of us had back in our school days. A teacher who truly understood how we learned best, who could provide exactly the right level of challenge, who never gave up on us when we struggled, and who celebrated our successes as if they were their own. This was a video on the bright side of AI in education. We know that some of us will say that AI provides countless opportunities for students to cheat and deceive their teachers, and we'll discuss that in a separate video. Meanwhile, we'd like to hear you. So, please share with us your thoughts on these dramatic changes in education. Do you see similarities to the one-room schoolhouses that some of our parents or grandparents attended, where learning was more individualized and community-focused? How do you think your own educational experience shaped who you became, and what do you hope will be different or the same for your grandchildren's educational journey? I'd love to hear your memories and perspectives in the comments below. Share your stories about your favorite teachers, the subjects that excited you most, and how you think education should evolve to serve the next generation. Your wisdom and experiences are invaluable as we navigate these exciting changes together.